So there are a lot of misconceptions about oil and the gathering, production, and use of it. Um, Kind of chapter 5 of The Rational Animal speaks of this in the sense that individuals can misunderstand the information given. So this chapter 5 of The Rational Animal, goes through and explains problems regarding the simple math and logic that individuals kind of have a hard time getting the right answer because of probability versus frequencies. So to start, kind of the Linda experiment is one that I kind of liked in there because it shows that the Linda experiment kind of shows that people kind of misunderstand how the probabilities work, right? If they put it in a way that just gives a probability, individuals will have a hard time kind of understanding that. So with the Linda experiment, right, we know, if you read the chapter, Linda is either a bank teller or a bank teller and a feminist. And we know logically, when we think about it, that obviously a bank teller is more probable than a bank teller and a feminist, if you look at the chart also in that chapter. So I bring that up because we're going to kind of go over the ideas of frequency versus probabilities, which frequencies, individuals tended to look at that a little easier. So now you may ask how this kind of relates to Chevron. However, it's kind of, I want to take the approach of the communication. Turn this into the experiment that they used for the Linda into how Chevron communicates to their end consumer, right? Because Chevron doesn't necessarily sell directly to the end consumer. They sell to companies who, may process it and so on. That then you go buy oil from the store, or products that use oil from the store. So yeah. So kind of, we need Chevron needs to entice the end consumer not to jump to conclusions about oil, and kind of take the broader approach and think about it, and look at the benefits. So again, as I mentioned in my last presentation, Chevron is a commodity. So the end consumer does produce a lot of public perception. So with public perception, is important, because if public perception is bad of oil, it can create bad policy moves by the government, and so on. So probability versus frequency. We know that, reading the chapter, that probability was the easier or harder one for people to understand. Frequency was a bit easier. So I relate probability communication to as if Chevron communicates to the end consumer of just going about it in a way that is why oil is all good, and they kind of focus more on their product than what the company does. Frequency, which is what Chevron is doing right now, they're doing well, because if you go to their website, they have a community outreach, and they're doing a lot of stuff to show the end consumer and individuals that they are helping the community, and they're doing their can to be energy efficient and look for other possible forms of energy. And I think that's one thing they need to produce or present to the end consumer, is that they are looking into possibly other forms of energy, because although Chevron relies on oil, that's what they are, but Sometimes the economy and the society may change, and Chevron doesn't want to be left behind if that ever does happen. So it's in their best interest to at least, even if they may not agree with it right now and they want to stick to oil, they have to be realistic at the same time and move forward with what the economy is showing. So, and they have to show the public the benefits in the form that the public will understand, such as the showing it to them in a frequency format instead of probability. This one point of the endowment effect that I kind of want to get to is it's interesting to me because the endowment effect, if you read the chapter, that we put more value into things we already own. So, for example, if we own a ticket to a game that costs $10, we're not willing to sell it for $10. We want to sell it for a lot more, but the person who wants to buy it won't buy it for that much. So we put more value on it than what it may be worth at times. So I asked the question, and there may not be a for sure answer to this, but just to get you thinking and everything, do we put more value into oil than we should? Right? Does our society, because we're already using it, our society is entrenched in it, is it something that we put more value into because we're already there? So just kind of a question to leave you with to think about as the environmental debates and everything moves forward. It could get pretty tricky and at that point. So so again, to just kind of review, we have the Chevron is essential to our economy and our infrastructure, and it must communicate to the end consumer by using and showing the consumer in a form that they understand and that they can see, right? Chevron's not going to communicate a bunch of details of engineering because, well, the majority of the end consumer doesn't know anything about engineering. So we'll kind of dumb it down in some ways and show the end consumer why oil and why oil products are important to our economy and our society as a whole. So I thank you for, again, my name is Daniel Young, and I appreciate you watching this presentation for my second Insight presentation for management class. So thank you.